This is the log cabin that my dad and I have been building. And this is the same cabin under 7 feet of snow. They don't call this place the Great White North for nothing. Several weeks before the snowstorm hit, we took down some dying trees which leaned precariously over the cabin. I started by felling this maple, which I showed in a previous episode. With the bigger maple now out of the way, we could deal with the smaller ones. Are you ready? Yeah. After cutting the diseased maples into firewood and stacking them, I moved on to the nearby cedar. Since it was healthy, I was happy to let it grow, so I gave it a haircut instead. Then came the snowstorm. The evening began calm and cold. But it was later that night when the blizzard hit. By morning, over 2.5 feet of snow had fallen. The fresh snow was so deep and powdery that even my snowshoes had trouble keeping on top of it. But without them, traveling through here would have been next to impossible. This fallen tree shows the amount of snow that had accumulated overnight. I was anxious to get out to the cabin, because I wasn't so sure if the roof tarp would be able to handle the snow load, which according to my calculations would be over 10,000 pounds. Although the roof structure could easily handle the added weight, the tarp was a different story. It was unnerving to think that the only thing keeping 10,000 pounds of snow from caving into the cabin and burying all our tools was a thin sheet of plastic. However, I was relying on the steep pitch of the roof to shed the snow before it became too much for the tarp to handle. So here's hoping the cabin was able to shrug last night's snow off in time. Otherwise, I'd have to do a lot of digging once I got there. This is where I'd normally show some drone footage of me sailing along the forest trails with my snowmobile. Instead, my sled kept burying itself in the soft powder, and I had to keep digging it out. I hadn't even made it to the openings and hollows yet, where the snow was deeper still. Although most modern sleds can easily handle this amount of powder, my late 80s Jag just didn't have the lugs for it. I had barely gone a kilometer before I had to turn back. Once I had returned my sled to the staging point, I strapped my snowshoes back on and continued walking from there. As I make my way back to the cabin, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Harry's for sponsoring today's episode. Before I started using Harry's, I was often frustrated with how complicated, overpriced, and overhyped the razor market had become, which is why I've come to really appreciate Harry's. I love that the refills start at only $2, and that they manufacture their own blades out of Germany, in a world-class factory that has been making blades for 100 years. Harry's founders, Jeff and Andy, were tired of overpaying for overpriced and overdesigned razors. They realized they weren't alone. Their answer? Start Harry's, buy a factory in Germany, and sell blades for a fair price directly to millions of men. Harry's sent me their travel essentials kit, which includes a weighted handle with textured rubber grip, one 5-blade razor cartridge, a travel size shave gel, a travel cover to protect your blades when you're on the go. The kit comes packaged in a toiletry bag made from durable, water-resistant, and tear-resistant fabric. You can get $5 off a Harry's Travel Essentials kit when you go to harrys.com/outsider. You'll get everything you need for a close, comfortable shave, and you'll be supporting my channel by signing up. And if you'd rather just give Harry's a try, you can still redeem a trial set. Again, make sure you go to harrys.com/outsider to redeem your offer and join the 10 million who have tried Harry's. To my great relief, the tarp had held its own, and the 45-degree roof alone is what saved it. This is exactly why steep cabin roofs are so important in snowy climates like this one, where it isn't uncommon for 3 feet of snow to fall in a single day, sometimes more. The cabin was sandwiched between two 7-foot tall snowbanks, which showed just how much snow had come off the roof. In the early winter, my head had just barely cleared the bottom of the windowsills, and as I now stood eye level with the roof, several thoughts crossed my mind. First of all, I was glad we built the cabin roof with a 45-degree pitch. Secondly, I was thankful we built the cabin 3 feet off the ground. And finally, I wished that the spring would come early this year so that I could stop worrying about the tarp. Although it hadn't been damaged by the snow, the tarp had certainly been damaged by falling branches and the wind, which had tugged and pulled at the grommets until most of them had been ripped out. Although it needed to be fixed, I would have to leave it for now. I had spent most of the day just getting out here, and I wanted to leave myself enough time to continue on to the pop-up cabin. Okay, I'm getting closer to the pop-up cabin now. I'm pretty tired, but I can just see it through the opening here. But I'm not sure if the roof is intact just yet. So you're about to find out with me if the roof was able to shed all the snow that was landing on it last night. Oh, look, would you look at that? The roof is still intact. That's a relief. Once again, the steep angle of the roof is what saved it. About a foot of snow remained on the cabin, but it didn't seem to be a problem for the tarp or roof structure to handle. Once a couple days had passed and the snow was able to thaw and harden, my dad and I returned to fix the tarp on the main cabin.
Make pads even just to get up here. Oh, this is the wrong way. Yeah. spacing it so it can't.
There, that should hold it until spring. That's it for now. Until next time, my friends.